Good afternoon and welcome to Spectrum Television News at noon. I am Uyai Imam, coming to you live from Uyo, the Akwa Ibom State capital. Let's take a look at the headlines. President Tinubu approves the incentives to unlock jobs and FX inflows. ANEC warns Nigerians against trivializing 2027 general elections. In other news, Ukraine, Russia, US to hold talks today. We'll bring you the details of these stories and more in a moment. Good afternoon and thanks for joining us. We begin the news at noon from the national scene, where President Bola Tinubu has approved the gazetting of targeted investment-linked incentives to support the proposed Bonga Southwest Deep Offshore Oil Project. A statement by Special Advisor to the President, Media and Public Communication, Sunday Dare, noted that the President has also directed his Special Advisor on Energy, Olu Version, to facilitate the gazette of the incentives in line with Nigeria's existing legal and fiscal frameworks, receiving Shell delegation led by its Global Chief Executive Officer, Well Sawan. President Tinubu said the incentives are disciplined, targeted and globally competitive, designed to attract new capital without undermining government revenues. President Tinubu emphasized that the Bonga Southwest project is strategic to Nigeria's economy, with the potential to create thousands of direct and indirect jobs, generate significant foreign exchange inflows, and deliver sustained government revenues over the life of the project. Away from that, the federal government has banned electricity distribution companies and installers from collecting any form of payment for meters, warning that DISCO officials and installers found extorting customers will be prosecuted. The Minister of Power, Adebayo Adelabu, issued the warning during an on-site inspection of newly imported smart meters at APM terminals at Apapa, Lagos. Adelabu said the meters were procured under the World Bank-funded Distribution Sector Recovery Program and must be installed for consumers free of charge, stressing that any demand for money would be treated as an offense. Adelabu, who was received into the Apapa Port Command of the Nigerian Customs Service by Area Controller Emmanuel Oshoba, expressed happiness over the importation of another tranche of 500,000 smart meters under DISREP. He said the meters would be given to all electricity customers regardless of their band. Meanwhile, the federal government has said that its security collaboration with the United States has strengthened counter-terrorism operations, especially in the northeast, northwest and north central. The government reiterated its commitment to strengthening cooperation to better protect lives and property across the country. The National Security Advisor Nuhu Ribadu and Information and National Orientation Minister Mohammed Idris stated that Nigeria was delighted that the security tie respects the country's sovereignty and prioritizes accountability and civilian protection. Ribadu and Idris spoke at the plenary session of the Nigeria-US Joint Working Group to address the country of particular concern designation of the country at the NSA office in Abuja. In another development, the Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Development, Festus Keyamo, has signed the formal concession agreement for the Akanu Ibiam International Airport, Enugu State. A statement by Special Advisor on Media and Communications to the Minister, Tunde Moshood, said the signing ceremony took place at the Ministry of Aviation and Aerospace Development, Abuja, where the Minister received a combined delegation of Enugu State government officials and representatives of Aero Alliance, the concessionaire. Also present from the federal government side were the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Aviation and Aerospace Development, Dr. Yakubu Adams, the Managing Director, Chief Executive of the Federal Airports Authority of Nigeria, Mrs. Olubumi Kuku, Director Legal Services, FAN, Mrs. Bridget Imunose, alongside other top officials of the ministry and FAN. The development marks a major milestone in the federal government's drive to modernize Nigeria's aviation infrastructure through strategic public-private partnerships. In his address, Keyamo described the event as the conclusion of a painstaking and transparent process that began several years ago. He explained that following the Federal Executive Council's approval, the ministry, FAN and Aero Alliance engaged in extensive negotiations, including consultations with aviation unions, to ensure that workers' welfare remained a top priority. On electoral matters, the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) has warned Nigerians against trivializing the 2027 general elections, stressing that selling votes for money could negatively affect the country for the next 4 years. The Director of Voter Education at INEC, Victoria Etamesi, gave the warning today while responding to questions of vote buying during a live broadcast. Etamesi said INEC's voter sensitization campaigns are aimed at appealing to the conscience of citizens to understand the long-term consequences of their electoral choices. According to her, the success or failure of the country largely depends on the decisions Nigerians make during elections, adding that the nation belongs to the citizens and their choices at the polls matter. In a separate development, the Nigerian Navy has stepped up efforts to expand its indigenous shipbuilding program as part of plans to strengthen its operational capability and reduce dependence on foreign-built naval platforms. The commitment was underscored by the Chief of Naval Staff, Vice Admiral Idi Abbas, at the 9th edition of the Doha International Maritime Defense Exhibition and Conference held in Qatar. A statement by the Nigerian Navy spokesman, Commodore Ayiwo Adams Aliyu, said that during the 4-day exhibition, Abbas held engagements with maritime solution providers on emerging technologies, with emphasis on the acquisition of modern naval platforms and technology transfer to boost the Navy's local ship production capacity. According to the statement, expanding technology transfer arrangements would further reposition it to scale up indigenous shipbuilding and achieve its long-term objective of becoming a leading warship manufacturer on the African continent. Move now to Africa, where Guinea-Bissau has halted a US-backed hepatitis B vaccine study on newborns, pending an emergency ethical review. The country's health ministry says a 6-member ethics committee never met before the study was approved, a major red flag. The ministry notices that the trial would randomly vaccinate some newborns and withhold the shot from others, tracking illness, death, and development. Meanwhile, US health officials insist the study is still moving forward. The study planned to follow 14,000 newborns over 5 years. On the foreign scene, Russian, Ukrainian and U.S. negotiators are heading to Abu Dhabi today for what is expected to be the first trilateral talks since Russia's full-scale invasion in February 2022. This comes after Russia's President Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump's envoys held what the Kremlin called useful but frank talks in Moscow. Recall that at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said he had reached an agreement with Donald Trump on future U.S. security guarantees for Ukraine in the event of a deal. Still on the foreign scene, Japanese Prime Minister Sanae Takachi has dissolved parliament today ahead of a snap election on February 8, counting on her cabinet's high poll numbers to steer her ruling party to victory. Recall that the country's first woman premier had announced her intentions on Monday, seeking public backing for measures to shield households from rising living costs and increased spending on defense. The Speaker of the Parliament read out a letter officially dissolving the lower house today. Reports say the ruling coalition of Takachi's Liberal Democratic Party and the Japan Innovation Party has only a slim majority in the powerful lower chamber. Still to come in the news. Super Eagles midfielder Onyedika pushes to leave Club Brugge. Stay tuned for details of this and more in a moment. Welcome back and thanks for staying tuned. And now to conclude the news on this hour. In the world of business, President Bola Tinubu has approved the commencement of commercial oil drilling at the Tongeji Island in Ipokia local government area of Ogun State. Governor Dakwa Abiodun disclosed this while receiving the flag officer commanding Western Naval Command, Rear Admiral Abubakar Abdullahi Mustafa, alongside senior officers of the command during a courtesy visit to his office in Okemasan, Abeokuta. The governor also revealed that the president had approved the immediate takeoff of the Olokola Deep Sea Port project located in Ogun Waterside local government area, describing the decision as a major breakthrough after years of anticipation surrounding the multi-billion-dollar port project. Abiodun said both projects were of special interest to President Tinubu, noting that while the Olokola Deep Sea Port would significantly decongest the Lagos ports, commercial oil drilling at the Tongeji Island would promote inclusion and economic empowerment for residents of coastal communities. Still in business, Nigeria's equity market recorded a historic performance in 2025 as total transactions rose sharply to 11.92 trillion naira, driven by a resurgence in foreign portfolio participation and sustained dominance by domestic investors. According to domestic and foreign portfolio participation in equity trading summary of transactions as of 31 December 2025, released by the Nigerian Exchange Limited yesterday, market activity more than doubled from 5.59 trillion naira in 2024 to 11.92 trillion naira in 2025, reflecting a year-on-year growth of 113.39% on a monthly basis. Market momentum accelerated strongly toward year-end. Total transactions increased by 42.13% from 971.1 billion naira in November 2025 to 1.38 trillion naira in December 2025. On our health news, the Director General of the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control (NAFDAC), Christiana Adeye, has assured Nigerians of the agency's commitment to reducing crimes associated with food registration processes in order to safeguard public health. Adeye said NAFDAC had adopted technology to prevent the undermining of enforcement effectiveness, warning that regulatory tools must keep pace with increasingly sophisticated criminal networks. She disclosed this at a press briefing in Lagos, where she said regulatory modernization had become a strategic imperative to ensure that the agency's system remained credible, efficient, transparent and fit for purpose, while protecting public health and supporting access to quality, safe and effective regulated products. According to her, NAFDAC's modernization drive is anchored on 5 strategic pillars: strong leadership and governance, institutionalization of best practices, safety and quality of regulated products, continuous monitoring along the supply chain, and efficient financial and performance management. Still in health, the Benue State Commissioner for Health and Human Services, Dr. Paul Oguche, has disclosed that 2 people have died from Lassa fever in the state. Recall that the commissioner had on Sunday alerted residents to an outbreak of the disease, stating that 7 persons had been infected. Speaking to journalists in Makurdi, Oguche said there had been an upsurge in Lassa fever cases in the state over the past 2 weeks. According to him, 2 additional suspected cases were recently recorded on the state's dashboard, bringing the total number of suspected cases to 9, out of which 5 tested positive, with 2 fatalities recorded. He identified Makurdi and Boruku local government areas as the most affected, adding that 2 health workers were among those infected. Now to the world of sports. Super Eagles midfielder Rafael Onyedika has said that he is eager to leave Belgian Pro League outfit Club Brugge before the end of the current transfer window. According to reports, Turkish Super League champions Galatasaray have indicated keen interest in the defensive midfielder and have agreed to personal terms with his representatives. Club Brugge have, however, rejected Galatasaray's bid for the Nigeria international and intend to keep the 24-year-old until the end of the season. Meanwhile, Onyedika has 1.5 years left on his contract with Brugge. Still in sports, Derek Chisora will face former world heavyweight champion Deontay Wilder in London, April, in his 50th career fight. Recall that Chisora, 42, said last year he would retire after a 50th bout, which would take place overseas. But reports say that Brighton has instead chosen to take on Wilder in London on the 4th of April. The pair were due to fight 13 years ago, but Wilder withdrew from the bout after an arrest for domestic violence prevented him from travelling to the UK. On entertainment news, Ryan Coogler's vampire period horror film Sinners has broken Oscar's record with 16 nominations, including Best Picture. According to the Academy, the film, set in the Mississippi Delta and starring Michael B. Jordan, explores themes of Black American history, music, and supernatural. Sinners surpasses the previous record of 14 nominations held by All About Eve, Titanic, and La La Land. Michael B. Jordan received the Best Actor nomination for his role in the film, which also picked up nomination for Screenplay, Score, and Best Casting, a new category added to the Oscars. And that's all we have for you on this news bulletin. Do well to follow us on social media, subscribe to our YouTube channel, all of which you can find on our website, spectrumtvlive.ng. This has been Spectrum Television News at 12 a.m. Uyai and Mem. Good afternoon.